Coming up on today's episode of DLLS Mavs, it's a Mavs Mailbag Thursday, plus Marc Stein joins us for London to give us his news and insights on Luka Doncic this summer and whose spot in the rotation is on the line this season for the Mavericks. All that and more on today's episode of DLLS Mavs. Here we go. Hey, what's up, DLLS Mavs Nation? It's your man, Kevin Gray, alongside Mavericks insider Tim Cato, Mavericks analyst Bobby Karalla. We are DLLS Mavs. You can find me on X at Kevin Gray Sports, Tim at Tim_Cato, Bobby at Bobby Karalla, and at the Stein line, Marc Stein going to be joining us here in 14 minutes from London to give us his news and insights on Luka Doncic this summer. But before we get there, some Mavs Mailbag Thursday. Tim, what's going on?
I wish I was in London right now.
That's
not fair.
It's like 70-some-odd degrees in London.
Why does Stein get to be out there and I'm just here in Dallas?
Well, you know, he's getting his frequent flyer miles and his passport, you know, stamped all over the place these days. That's what he's up to these days.
Do you have a passport, Tim?
I do.
Okay.
You have a
very
passport?
famously have been to Slovenia.
I do too. Yeah, that's great.
Oh, that's right. You have. Well, passports expire. Just make sure your passport doesn't expire.
It expires like 5 years from now.
This is the first. This is the first time in my life, Kevin,
you.
that I'm actually excited to check the mail. I'm really curious to see what
That's
our
a great
what
point,
our diehard
I
Mavs
do
fans
not
have to
like
say.
checking my mail. As I've gotten older in my life, I do not like checking the mail.
It's usually just bad stuff.
Usually,
You guys don't have like some magazines coming there? Like I check mine and I get a new new issue.
What are you subscribed to, Tim?
Do
you care to share?
D Magazine. D Magazine.
Shout out to our guy Mike Palucci. Shout
And
out
Texas
Mike. What's
Monthly.
up, Mike?
Both of those. Those are my only two
Good
magazine
magazine.
subscriptions.
Good, solid magazine.
Yeah.
We also got to say what's up to our folks in the chat today. The best way you can grow our community and also become a diehard. Like, comment, and subscribe. Go to alldlls.com. Our Mavs mailbag today. Questions from our Discord, also from the chat as well. Make sure that you become a diehard. We'll be talking about that throughout the course of our show. Say what's up to Ronald, Hardy. We got a lot to get to on today's episode as we jump into our Mavericks mailbag. Shout out to our guy Tim Cato, who came up with this fantastic idea. Said, hey, we should take questions from the Discord, from the chat, and be able to answer those on our show today.
I think I might be the first person who ever came up with the idea of a question and an answer.
A question and an answer?
Yeah.
Okay, just exclusively.
You might see fake imitators out here trying to do fake Q&As, kind of like
often imitated, but never duplicated here on DLLS Mavs. That's for damn sure.
Yeah, we're gonna call this Q&A today.
Okay.
Okay. Q&A today with Tim Cato.
Yeah,
this is the part where we
like
just get up and leave, Bobby.
Kinda like Empire.
We don't need to be here. That's all we need to do.
I have so many emails I have to read too, so like.
Bobby's like, please, actually, if you could let me go, that would actually help me for today's work. Tim, who cracks this loaded rotation for the Mavericks as part of some of the questions that we've got here to answer today?
Yeah, well, let's start off focused on one specific person, which is Jaden Hardy. I facilitated, that's not the right word. I asked for questions. What word was I looking for? Anyway, I got questions off.
Solicited, maybe?
Solicited. I solicited questions on Reddit, on Twitter. We're definitely going to be prioritizing the diehards and the Discord. In Ben Selheim, hope I pronounced that last name.
Good dude.
Already a big fan of Ben. But he asked, will this be the
I've
year
been sliding
Jaden Hardy?
into Ben's DMs all morning, actually, on
Oh,
Discord.
yeah?
Another perk of becoming a diehard is you can DM me.
Who really wants that?
Flood Bobby's DMs with all of your comments and questions.
My DMs are wide
Will
open.
this be the year Jaden Hardy
make
takes
that a drop.
a
Thank
huge
you.
step and finally becomes a full-time rotation player? What say y'all?
Kevin, what do you think?
Alive? Is that what we're asking? Is the Hardy party alive?
Is it ever going to start?
I hope it starts on time if it
I
does
love
start.
parties. I would love to be invited to one day.
Man,
they seem fun.
You seem like a popular person. You should be invited to a lot of parties, but we'll talk about that another time.
My persona on the podcast might be different than who I am in real life.
You're outside of the podcast?
You're supposed to be authentic on the podcast.
That's very true.
We've talked about this so much.
I'm
authentic
to my persona.
Very good.
Sorry.
I like it. Tim is off the rails today already. That's what we love here on the show. Will the Hardy party get started? It's going to be tough for him because this team is deep, and we got a lot of guys that we're looking at, whether it be Jaden Hardy himself. Obviously, Spencer Dinwiddie has been added to the rotation as well. There's a lot of guys that are going to be vying for these minutes, and the question for me is, we know that Jaden Hardy is a decent three-point shooter, improving as a three-point shooter. One of the things we saw from him last year, getting a little bit better in terms of his reads, getting into the paint to be able to throw some lobs to guys like Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford. We saw some improvement in terms of his playmaking and his reading abilities there. How much more of an opportunity is he going to get to do that this year? I don't know, given how deep and loaded this team is, that he's going to be able to see the kind of consistent minutes that allows him to continue to grow and show the other parts of his game that make him more attractable as part of the rotation, or potentially maybe even a trade piece for somebody else down the road to be able to maybe get some value for him if that's the thing that the Mavericks may be looking for.
Yeah, the clock is ticking because this is the last year of his contract, right?
Yeah,
so it's kind of like
could be a restricted free agent.
You're not
this,
like he's not playing for his career or anything, but the stakes are basically like, do you want a second deal or do you want to hit free agency? Because if you're a rookie and you hit free agency, usually that either means that you're really, really good and probably going to leave, or that your rookie contract didn't go the way that you wanted it to. Hardy, his rookie season, how about this? 47.2% on corner threes. That's pretty dang good. Last season, 35.1% on corner threes, which is not very good. It's below average. So that is a big component of his game. Now, obviously, he's a guy that likes having the ball in his hands, but if you're playing with Luka, you're playing with Kyrie. Oftentimes last season, he's sharing the floor with Dante Exum or any other number of Mavs guards, but this year they have even more guards. So I'm not sure how much time he's going to spend on the ball. That spot-up shooting is a huge component of his game, which is why, Kevin, you mentioned finding Lively with the lobs. Mm-hmm. That was such a big addition to his game throughout the playoffs, because that was something really throughout the first 2 years of his career I didn't really see a lot from him.
Or didn't even know if he was capable of, honestly.
Put the ball on the floor. I mean, we saw it in Summer League. They're trying to make him a facilitator but also a scorer, and it was kind of like weird. But in the playoffs, he was great. Like, catch it on the kickouts from Luka or Kyrie off their dribble penetration, make a play against the defense's off balance. His first step is so quick. He's very, very fast. And if he does have the vision and anticipation to find either the lob shooters or the kick out guys in the corner, then he is kind of an ideal off-guard fit off the bench with either Luka or Kyrie. Of course, the defense has got to come with that too. So if he can become a better shooter, particularly from the corners, and if the passing is real and not just like a one-time thing, then I think that he has a really good chance at those minutes. But, dude, there's just so much competition this year. I really don't know.
I'll be the pessimist, or what I would just say is the realist here, is that the NBA is a business, and I don't think my best guess is that Jaden Hardy isn't on the team after the trade deadline. It's a combination of a lot of things.
Spicy Tim today.
Clip
okay.
that one.
It's a combination of several things. One is that there's a lot of shooters, there's a lot of shooting on this roster. So that one proven NBA skill of his, which is spot-up shooting, is just a little bit more redundant when you look at the entirety of the rotation. He did develop his off-the-dribble game a little bit, and I thought that was really impressive and important in the postseason, but
that was missing completely from his first season. And usually it's a simple thing, but that also means that coachability, adaptability, that stuff can carry over to other areas of your game.
He's still not a good finisher. He's not a good finisher at the rim. Yeah. His first season, he was drawing a lot of fouls. That fell off last season.
Gets blocked a lot.
He gets blocked a lot. He drives into traffic, into doesn't always know exactly where he's going like that. Going on the dribble. His dribbling needs to be better. I just don't see his ceiling as, you would like to think that, maybe he could be like a Tyrese Maxey type. I just don't see that being his ceiling.
Tyrese Maxey's an all-star.
Yeah, he's an all-star.
That would be saying, if Jaden Hardy found a way to reach a Tyrese Maxey ceiling, we've got a really nice problem here in Dallas.
No, of course. And you would let a guy, you would make sure a guy like that, if you thought he had that type of ceiling, you would make sure that he stuck around. But I don't see him getting a lot of minutes, and he is, this is the last year of his contract. He wants to get paid. I know that he was unhappy at times with his role or lack thereof last season, and I just worry that's going to be the same thing this year. And so it might be a sense where Dallas is going to give him opportunities, but if he can't stake out a rotation role, it might make I think it definitely makes sense for Jaden Hardy to be like, send me somewhere where I can play so I can get paid to some extent this coming year. And if Dallas is in the same situation where they don't see him carving out a rotation role this year, that means that they're not so incentivized to even keep him around on a restricted deal. Maybe it's a situation where they trade him to a team that's interested in taking him on as a flyer. I don't think he has a lot of value.
That alone affects a player's value too, because it's like, look at Quentin Grimes, for example. Okay, Quentin Grimes is a very, very good, very productive NBA player with injury concerns in the last year of his contract, and the Pistons essentially send him here as part of a salary dump, kind of like in exchange for a salary dump or whatever.
Yeah, because Tibbs on expiring himself.
Yeah. So if it gets to be close to the deadline and Hardy hasn't really flashed, or maybe is on the outside looking into the rotation, teams that are competing for the playoffs would probably say, well, he's not in a playoff rotation for a good team. Would he be for us?
Would he be able to crack the rotation here for us as well? I mean,
but you'd be sending him to a worse team. I saw someone on Reddit mention Toronto, which has a TPE, a trade player exception.
But then you're getting a guy that you have to keep, basically. If it's the last year,
really,
I mean, it's a rental, but
I mean, I think the price for him would be a cheap second.
Yeah,
I don't think you're getting much more for him if he doesn't pop this season.
And but why would you trade for a young guy that's about to be a free agent if you don't think you're going to keep him?
I mean, he's a restricted free agent, so it'd be interesting to see the decision that team would have to make, given what kind of production he did provide, and then if they could see a future for him maybe down the road. And I think what's interesting here is, especially with Hardy, is you're talking about a team that has real playoff aspirations to go deep into the postseason. How much more of an opportunity is he going to have the kind of trust built in where you got guys like Dinwiddie and Exum who are already earned the trust more likely, I would think, with a Jason Kidd, probably would see more opportunities to be able to play more so than a guy like Jaden Hardy, given what this team is trying to achieve, and maybe.
Well, let's ask one more question that kind of contextualizes this. This also comes from Ben Selheim. He explained it earlier, and I already forgot it.
That's cool. We see you, Ben.
Selheim, of course. Selheim. Thank you.
There he is.
He asked, who is the first 5 players off the bench? And this, I think, kind of contextualizes just the problem for Hardy in his attempt to break into the rotation. It's going to be Najee. It's going to be Gafford.
Yep.
It's going to be Quentin Grimes, we believe.
When Maxi's healthy.
It's going to be Maxi, and it's going to be Dante Exum.
Yeah.
I think that's my 5. Is there any disagreement
Well,
here?
Dinwiddie, I don't know.
I guess
we don't know. It depends on who's playing, who's not.
Well, if Grimes, if Grimes is injured, if Grimes is not effective.
I mean, if Luka's out or Kyrie's out, I think it's got to be Dinwiddie. It has to be.
As a scorer and a playmaker, yeah. That's interesting because, again, that just speaks to how deep this team is. If we're already having questions about whether or not Dinwiddie can even crack the first 5 off the bench, that just shows you what kind of spot Jaden Hardy is in. If a guy as experienced as Dinwiddie, who's had already really good playoff moments with this team, if he's questioned or not coming off the first 5, what does that really say about Jaden Hardy and his opportunities potentially?
And when it comes out of what a coach values, J Kidd, it seems really, really values mistake-free play off the bench.
Yes.
You cannot go in and
trusting those guys not to make those mistakes.
Which is that's his choice. Whether that's right or wrong is up to you. But I think if you're trying to win a championship, you're trying to make the playoffs, the fewer mistakes, the better, man.
Yeah.
Because,
and we know Dinwiddie has some value that he can kind of replicate. If Luka and Kyrie are out, he can kind of replicate that. But he's also shown that he can fill much more of a role player role. He's blistering shooting corner threes, especially the past 2 seasons. He's above 50%.
That's quite good.
I think that we know that Jaden Hardy is not someone who's filling in for Luka or for Kyrie. We've seen that tried, and it just hasn't worked. It worked for a few games very early on in his career, his rookie year. It didn't work last season. And so the question is, Dinwiddie is better at filling in for the stars, but he also might be better at fitting in as a role player. He's also just a bigger player. He's a better defender. Not a great defender, but neither is Hardy, and just size alone, that helps. And so I just think that everything that Hardy can do, unless he takes a big step forwards, is something that Dinwiddie can probably do better.
Plenty more in our Mavs Mailbag Thursday here on DLLS Mavs. Coming up here in just a moment, Marc Stein from London with his news and insights on Luka Doncic this summer and what's going to be going on with the rest of this team going into the rest of the offseason. But before we get there, Tim, talk to me about Z-Biotics.
Look, let's face it. I'm washed.
Tim, wow.
Yeah. My knees. True. My knees are swollen up after basketball, and after a night with drinks, I don't bounce back the next day like I used to. I have to make a choice. I can either have a great night out or a great next day. That is, until I found Z-Biotics. Z-Biotics Pre-Alcohol is the world's first genetically engineered probiotic. It was invented by PhD scientists to tackle rough mornings after drinking. Here's how it works. When you drink, alcohol gets converted into a toxic byproduct in the gut. It's this byproduct, not dehydration, that's to blame for your rough next day. Pre-alcohol produces an enzyme to break this byproduct down. Just remember to make Z-Biotics your first drink of the night, drink responsibly, and you'll feel your best tomorrow. Like I was out with a friend who's actually leaving the country. We're doing like some send-off drinks.
Forever?
For a couple years.
Oh, wow.
Going to get his master's in Italy. Isn't that cool?
That's amazing.
And of course, we were having a final round of Lone Stars, and I made Z-Biotic my first drink, and you wouldn't believe how on top of my game I felt the very next morning. We've got vacations, weddings, birthdays, reunions all coming up. There's so much going on right now. Get the most out of your summer plans by stocking up on pre-alcohol now. Go to zbiotics.com/DLLS-Mavs to get 15% off your first order when you use DLLS Mavs at checkout. Pre-alcohol is backed with 100% money back guaranteed, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason, they'll refund your money, no questions asked. Remember to head to zbiotics.com/DLLS-Mavs and use the code DLLS-Mavs at checkout for 15% off. Thank you, Z-Biotics, for sponsoring this episode and our good times.
Great ad read, Tim. Yeah. Sorry, I needed to find my spot. Let's talk about flooring.
Flooring
with Empire today.
Q&A today. Oh wait, wrong one.
Empire today. Q&A tomorrow. You can shop at home convenience, the right product for your needs, quick and professional installation, and a low price guarantee. And the low price guarantee is important because any old weirdo on the streets can make up a number and tell you that's what it's going to cost for me to put floor in your home. But they're probably lying to you. Okay, first off, they're probably not experienced, whereas Empire today lives and breathes flooring. They're probably not very good at installing. Whereas Empire's products, dude, we use Empire's flooring every day.
In our studio.
It's in our studio out there. It's
literally in our
here.
studio.
I mean, there's a floor beneath my feet right now. I can thank Empire today for that.
That's good.
We would be screwed if we didn't have the floor.
If there wasn't a floor below us.
It's true. Who knows what would happen? Their virtual floor designer is a great way to see how new floors will look in any space, so you can shop for floors where your floors are. Schedule a free in-home estimate today. All listeners, all viewers can receive 350 buckaroos off when they use the promo code DLLS. Restrictions may apply. EmpireToday.com/DLLS. Save yourself some money. It's Empire Today, not Empire Tomorrow. So go there. Wait for us to finish and then go there in like 20 minutes.
Appreciate you, Bobby. Coming up here in about 15 minutes, more of our Mavericks mailbag. But right now, it's time to dial up the Stein line and join our guy, Marc Stein, who's in London with his insights on Luka Doncic this summer and more. What's up, Marc?
Well, how are you guys? I mean, I've watched all the shows. I can't believe that I have not been in studio yet, but sources say that will happen Tuesday.
Yes.
Tuesday will be my in-studio debut, because I believe there will not be a show Monday.
That's right.
If I heard correctly.
That's right. Your sources are correct.
Much like Slovenia, I've got my fingers crossed very tightly right now. Is the Wi-Fi going to hold up? I'm not as confident as I was. My Slovenia Wi-Fi was pretty solid.
Mm-hmm.
This Wi-Fi, a little sketchier. And then same warning as last time. I'm kind of half waiting for that knock on the door. Mr. Stein, why are you shouting after midnight?
Mr. Stein, could you keep it down, please? We're trying to
I'm
sleep
not
at
shouting.
This
This is just my podcast. My podcast octaves go up about 7 when I answer a question. So
well,
let's see if we can get through a couple segments without that knock on the door.
Oh, yeah, we'll definitely be able to get through it for sure. We appreciate the excitement, of course, as we've had our debut week here on DLLS Mavs. And speaking of, obviously, your travels, you have spent quite a bit of time overseas. You had a chance to spend some time in Slovenia, obviously, for Goran Dragic's farewell tour game. Luka Doncic also having a chance to spend some time at home, as evidenced by social media. My man was out there kicking it on the farm, getting his farm skills on back at home, as he looks like he's having a good time at home in Slovenia right now.
Yeah, so I'm going to tell you a little secret. Don't tell anybody.
It's just between the two of us and everybody else.
I think there was had I extended my Slovenia stay one extra day, I think there was a chance that I might have been able to talk my way onto the trip to the farm, which, as I understood it, was about an hour away from Ljubljana. That farm, again, I hope I have all my facts straight here. I believe that farm is owned by a very, very, very close friend of Luka's, one of his best friends on earth. And from what I'm told, that's one of his favorite places to just get away from it all. And, we've heard him talk about, when he retires, he wants to have a farm and just disappear. And I think that's where it comes from, his trips to that farm. But basically an NBA crew arrived in Slovenia right after the Dragic game. And so Monday, I was scheduled to fly from Slovenia to London. And I actually saw Luka for a brief second at the hotel when I was leaving. And I didn't know it at the time, but it turned out that he was getting ready for this NBA crew to accompany him on the trip to the farm. And you see, now he's left Slovenia. He's part of the Brand Jordan team of all-stars that have moved on to China. But look, London in August and September is, as my eldest son would say, it's God tier, because it's 30 plus degrees cooler than home.
Yeah.
And it's like, I didn't need to come to London after Slovenia, but I did need to come to London after Slovenia just because I wanted to wake up in 70-degree temperatures every day, at least for a few more days before I come back to the heat wave.
Which we're quite jealous of. But
had I known that I could have potentially, I'm sure that crew wouldn't have loved my presence, but I promise you I would have tried to sneak my way onto that trip, because to see Luka in that element, we don't see that every day.
Yeah, no, we don't. And it feels like, that Luka's had, I guess, somewhat of a relaxed summer. We touched on it a couple of days ago, having the break that he did, not making it to the Olympics with Team Slovenia. But I could just imagine what this rest, not only physically but mentally, is going to do for him by the time this team gets ready for training camp at the end of September, and then, of course, at the beginning of October in Las Vegas. From your understanding, how has this summer been for him in terms of some of that mental and physical recuperation, and what that can do for his preparation going into this upcoming season?
Well, I have to say, I really thought he was in just fantastic spirits in my brief time in Slovenia. I know I can't say I saw him a ton, but I saw him, 3-4 days in a row. When he's around the other NBA players from all those Balkan countries, like, they just look giddy together. Nikola Vucevic, Bogdan Bogdanovic, ultimately, of course, Jokic shows up, and just, he loves being with those guys. He and Dragic, of course, long history together on the national team. And, Friday night before the Dragic game was this nationally televised gala, which was a huge event in Slovenia. And this thing was on Channel 1 in Slovenia, like the main, it would be the equivalent of being on ABC or NBC or CBS nationally in the United States. So the whole country was watching this game. And on that broadcast, before they drafted the teams, Dragic and Luka, they both drafted their rosters. Luka talked about how, I just went to the sea. I just had this chance to get refreshed and get away. And, he always, I believe it's Croatia that he goes to get away, get to the seaside. And, now he's on this Jordan Brand business trip right now. And I guess that goes into next week. But then, it's ramp up time then and getting ready for the season. But he has had time now to recharge, get away, spend time with his daughter, his infant daughter. So, I mean, I think he's ready to go. And like I said, I think the last time we visited, I think now, he'll really spend the next month ramping up and getting ready for training camp. And September 30th is media day. So, he still has a good month here, a little less than a month.
Yeah, and that break has been good for him, I'm sure, and more importantly for his body, mentally and physically. He will be ready to go by the time we get to October, which means he's going to be playing, obviously, with getting back together with his guys, and specifically not only the guys that he played with last year, but some old faces, yet some new faces as well, particularly one that Mavericks fans know very well, the Smoothie King himself, Spencer Dinwiddie. And I bring him up, Mark, because this team is deep going into this upcoming year, and there's going to be a lot of questions about who rotationally is going to fit based on what this team is going to be looking for night in and night out. And Dinwiddie is going to be a part of that. Who are you going to be looking to see kind of fighting for minutes here with the amount of guys that this team has and what they're trying to do this upcoming year?
Well, look, I think you're pinpointing something that we will be talking about a lot because let's face it, Jaden Hardy, everybody wants him to take a step forward and do more as he continues to blossom into his career and his career continues to advance. And obviously Dante Exum had, for the most part, a pretty strong debut season in Dallas. So maybe some did wonder, why did they need Dinwiddie? But my sense is that management felt like, as well as things went last season with Kyrie's first full season in Dallas, he still only played, 57 regular season games. We know both he and Luka are going to miss some time because of the wear and tear that they both faced during the regular season. The Mavericks did look at Dennis Smith Jr. They did consider bringing him back. And I also reported last month that Talen Horton-Tucker was someone that they considered making a move for. But ultimately, my sense was that they just felt like we've seen Spencer Dinwiddie in that third guard role. He's very good at it. He's accustomed to it. He knows already how to play off of Luka and off of Kyrie, having done it in Brooklyn. And when they need a starter, if they need a spot starter in 10, 15 games, they're going to obviously hope it's not more than that. But if they do need a spot starter that many times, I think they'll feel very comfortable going to Spencer Dinwiddie. And what I didn't realize is, from what I'm told, Dinwiddie maintained property in Dallas even after he left the Mavericks. He went back, of course, to the Nets in the Kyrie trade, and then he chose the Lakers over the Mavericks when he became free last season in the buyout market. And instinct tells me that one of the more interesting questions on Media Day will be, I'm sure it might even be Kevin Gray who asks this question, Spencer, why did you pick the Lakers over the Mavericks when you were a free agent? You could have come back last February. But look, Spencer Dinwiddie is a Southern California native. He was a top high school player in the area. The chance to go to the Lakers, and the way I understood it was LeBron James made a pretty strong recruitment push to convince Spencer Dinwiddie to join the Lakers last February. So, but all that said, I know that Kevin Gray will be in the front row or there or nearby on Media Day to ask Spencer Dinwiddie to expound on his buyout market decision. Am I right?
Most likely, plus the whole mommy and daddy comment, I'm sure will come back up once again once he decides to talk to the media when we get ready for this upcoming season. And before we end today, because one of the things, not just with Dinwiddie's minutes, but there's a lot of guys that are going to be looking to have playing time here that we're looking to see in terms of a Dante Exum, a Jaden Hardy. There are a lot of guys that toward the end are going to be looking for those minutes as well. What are some of your thoughts on those guys and what that could look like, even with the addition of Spencer Dinwiddie, given how deep this Mavericks team is and what that could mean for certain individuals who the Mavericks may need to see take steps forward?
Well, look, Hardy is obviously a player that has a huge local following. Everybody gets revved up when it's a Hardy party and he starts scoring. So, man, my math is rusty. Year 3 now. He's moving into year 3. Do I have that right? So,
yeah.
Look, I think on the outside, there's going to be a great deal of curiosity to see what kind of role he can carve out because the backcourt is so crowded. And then where I think Exum fits in, one of the big questions about this Mavericks team with Klay Thompson coming in and Derek Jones Jr. leaving, the question is going to be, how much better will the offense be? How much worse might the defense get without Derek Jones Jr., whose sole focus really was defense? And so that's where a guy like Exum, who has proven that he can defend as well as be that third ball handler. It's one of the more fascinating things to me about the modern NBA that's, so many teams, they love to get 3 ball handlers on the floor when they can. And I mean, I think that's a big reason why Spencer Dinwiddie is back, because he did so well in that role when you had Luka Doncic, Jalen Brunson, and then Dinwiddie as even a third very capable ball handler and playmaker and shot creator. So, Exum, if there are issues defensively, that might work to Exum's advantage to help him get minutes. But I got to be honest with you, as we sit here in late August, as I sit here in my London hotel, fully immersed in a soccer culture where there isn't a whole lot of NBA on the streets of London in late August, I don't know how the minutes are going to be distributed. I'm sure it's going to be. I'm sure that's a question that Jason Kidd will field pretty early in his media day availability, because this is a very deep team. I mean, there are more than 10 guys that can play on this team. And it's not easy to find minutes for more than 10 guys. So we'll see.
Mark, as always, we appreciate you allowing us to dial up the Stein line, man, here on this Thursday episode of DLLS Mavs, and look forward to talking to you on Friday, my man. Thank you.
The Wi-Fi sputtered through. We made it.
we did. Appreciate it. Appreciate Mark's insights from London. He'll be back with us tomorrow for our Friday show here. Appreciate the Stein line getting dialed up here on DLLS Mavs. Coming up here in just a moment, more from our Mavs Mailbag Thursday. But before we get there, got to let you know, you got to become a diehard. You want to become a diehard?
I think I might be already, but yes, I do.
Just say yes. You
just
want
in
to be
case
a diehard.
I'm not, I want to be.
Everybody wants to be a diehard.
I want my answers, my questions answered first on all of our Q&A shows.
That's right. You have
a great perk.
You'll get the chance to be part of our Diehards Only Discord as well. We've got incredible merch as well. Diehards get free shirts at sign up also every year after. 20% off merch all the time. Also, 20% off all of our events. Make sure you go to alldlls.com/diehard to become a diehard today. Again, you see the incredible merch. We've got amazing products and t-shirts. Also, you get a physical diehard card, so you get to show off your membership to everyone.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that you're a diehard, and let them know.
Is it gold plated?
There are some gold. There was one I saw online that was actually gold plated as well. It had some gold in it, like gold tint in it.
Yeah, I'm also I'm planning on dumping a lot of my game notes into the Discord because I don't like buying paper or handwriting, and I also don't. I don't think I don't think I have like Office installed on my laptop either. So I need a place to put all my thoughts. I'm just gonna put it in Mavs General on the Discord. So if you want to see what I think about whenever I watch basketball, it's a great place to go.
The other perks that you do get include premium content in your inbox, diehard only bonus podcasts, also exclusive discounts for select partners, and so much more. And yes, fill up Bobby's DMs and get them at him on Discord when you become a diehard member as well.
Hey, let me tell you guys about Shady Rays. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. That is more people than are on a basketball team. So you know you can trust it. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures.
Tim, a big problem though whenever I go on an adventure is like my sunglasses will fall off my big head and then I just lose them forever.
Well, I was going to tell you that if your shades ever go missing or take an unexpected hit, don't sweat it. They have the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair is backed by lost or broken replacements.
What? So just
Isn't
for you.
that unbelievable?
Just
What?
for you.
If you don't love your shades, exchange for a new pair or return worry-free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back with personal and fast support. Exclusively for our listeners, Shady Rays is giving out the best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use code DLLS for 35% off polarized sunglasses. I'm used to like 10 or 15. 35% off.
35% off.
That's a good deal.
Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. More than a basketball team.
I appreciate it, Tim. As we continue our Mavs mailbag today here on DLLS Mavs with the added depth, gentlemen. How should the Mavericks manage Luka Doncic in the regular season? That came from one of our Discord members as well, correct, Tim?
It came from Adam, I believe. Yes. Shout out Adam. And shout out everybody who has signed up already to be a diehard.
Yes.
Go to alldlls.com/diehard. That's where you get access to the Discord. You can pop in questions. Anytime we do a show like this, you can pop in questions, and we're going to prioritize you guys over Twitter or Reddit or all those other dweebs. You guys are the diehards. You're the real ones. But I think it's a good question. Luka clearly was healthy and active and ready for so much of the season, and like we've seen before, about halfway, a little bit more than halfway, but he kind of hit that February moment where he had just had such a workload.
Hold on, is Dirk watching this podcast?
Yeah, probably.
Hi, Dirk.
Yeah,
good podcast, says Dirk Nowitzki.
Shout out Dirk.
Shout out to Dirk.
Yeah.
Good player.
He was kind of good, yeah.
Good player.
And so I think for Dallas to finally enter a season with a roster that feels complete, which it's been a sec, it's been since, even going into the year 2 years ago when they went to 3 years ago when they went to the conference finals, it didn't feel fully complete that season. We weren't really sure what to expect. Brunson hadn't emerged yet. Early in that season, it was about Brunson showing that he could be the second star. But this team feels complete. Maybe they need another piece to truly be championship contenders. That's another question. We can get there later. But I do feel like it's very likely that Dirk Nowitzki would never use the salute emoji. That's not Dirk.
We know it's not actually Dirk. We knew it was not actually him.
Here's the deal with Luka's minutes.
With the bit.
I think 35. I think 35 is, look, he's still going to be playing in the mid-30s. That's what superstars do. That's what you do with your best player. There's no scenario where they're going to get him down to 32. On an easy night where it's a blowout, sure. But he's still going to be averaging in the mid-30s. But if he can be 35 instead of 37, I think that's what Dallas should be aiming for.
Yeah, and they've gone up every year of his career. Last year, he averaged 37.5 minutes per game, which that's a whole lot. And in order to be eligible for any of the awards, you got to play at least 64.5 games or whatever it is.
65, yeah.
So,
yeah.
There aren't going to be many scheduled nights off for superstars anymore, which is part of it. I think that's a good thing. These guys should play. But it does mean that if Luka's going to play, he's going to play a lot of minutes. 37.5 times 70, you can – I don't know. Those numbers are too big for me to do the math, but you can probably look it up. That's like somewhere around 2,500 minutes played, and that's a lot of high intensity. That's a lot of dribbling the ball, change of direction. His body's taking
more
punishment.
games.
You just cannot do that.
Less minutes per game.
Yeah.
That's the ideal situation.
Yeah, and coming into the season this year, you have Luka, you got Kyrie, you got Dinwiddie, right? Going into last season, it was like Luka and Kyrie, and maybe
we'll figure it out from there.
Yeah,
exactly.
And there's never really been like a firm, solidified backcourt, especially like ball handling, playmaking rotation, as there is this year. So hopefully that'll help.
He was third in the NBA, Luka, or tied for second, really. DeMar DeRozan averaged 37.8. But after that, it was Tyrese Maxey and Luka both tied for 37.5. It's too much.
Which means there's going to be an emphasis, at least for me, in terms of the conditioning and how he comes into shape this upcoming year. Because if he's going to be playing between 35 and 38 minutes a night, and the amount of punishment that his body takes, we know how he likes to fall. I'm not saying he likes to fall on the floor, but he gets a lot of contact, is what I'm trying to say. And the amount of basketball that he's played. You think about the last 3 or 4 years of ball that he's played collectively between the deep playoff runs, the Olympics, Eurobasket. Like, he's done a lot of basketball over the last several years. So my big focus for him will be, what does the first 25 games look like from a conditioning standpoint? Is he going to be, by the time he gets to the end of the regular season, having withstanded all the punishment he's taken, be able to withstand another?
I think he'll be fine.
Yeah,
I agree. The question kind of looming over all of this stuff is like, how hurt was he in the playoffs, and are we ever going to know? And is he feeling
That's a great
better
question.
now? Like, none of us really know. So, as long as that's kind of a mystery,
and how much more did he actually
closer to 30
playing?
than 40 would make me feel really good.
And I'll remind you guys, he just has his body is fascinating. I know that's a weird way to say it. There's probably a better way to phrase
Drop
it.
Tanner.
But the way that he can have a nagging injury that's a real injury, and it just affects all parts of, like, so often when we talk about, some of the weight conversations we've had, which overblown, but they do stem from a real thing. A lot of it is like he's nursing an injury, and all of a sudden the cardio just isn't there the same, and in the the pregame routines, all this stuff kind of changes, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, well now he's got to get back into the shape he was. It felt like he was in like 2 weeks ago. Again, it's weird. I don't like to overly talk about another another person's body. Like this is something that he has acknowledged, and I think he has consistently been better at. There's photos going around of him looking ripped right now. So, I think that is my belief. And I also think that Dinwiddie, the more I think about this signing, the more I think that it is specifically a signing to make sure that Luka's minutes are managed and a little bit less than they were before.
It's not so much, Thomas on YouTube says, are we really discussing limiting minutes for an athlete that's in his prime? It's not so much limiting the minutes. It's just like what's not limiting, but like keeping
managing.
them. Yeah, like not unlimiting them.
Yeah.
You're
like, trying to maximize this player for the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's what we're trying to do.
Yeah, you don't want Luka scored 73 in a game in January last season. It would be really cool if he scored 73 in April.
Yeah.
And May. Like let's keep him fresh, ready to go for whenever it matters. Because like we saw in the playoffs, like dude was super limited even against the Clippers in the first round. And the longer the playoffs went, it felt like the less of a top gear that he had.
Yeah, him playing 37 minutes is not, I don't think, what he or the Mavericks wanted. It's the exact opposite of limiting. Like, he had to play that many minutes.
Yeah.
As somebody pointed out in the comments, as no way it was Luka and Dante for a long period. But yeah, truly, for like several months of last season, or for at least like 6 weeks, it was really just Luka and Dante that could handle the ball and initiate the offense. I don't think that's going to be the case this season, and I think that's a really good thing for Luka. Will the 2024-25 Mavericks, this question also comes from Adam, in fact, will the 24-25 Mavericks have more dog in them than any other Mavericks team in franchise history?
Ooh, I like some dogs.
Franchise history?
Ooh.
Like, you just got to start with the championship team. Like, Stevenson, Tyson Chandler. I would describe Jason Terry as somebody
certified dog.
JJ wasn't backing down from anybody either.
Yeah. Jason Terry had like a little yappy dog in him. He had like a poodle, not a poodle.
I don't know
like
why
one
I
of
thought
those,
she was gonna give us
one
like
of
an
those
actual example
crusty,
of what that sounds.
small white dogs.
Teams in the 80s, like Derek Harper,
that's
Maniac, Rowe, Maniac, Mark Aguirre, Maniac. Those guys weren't backing down either. So I don't know. But if we're talking like Luka's career, I would say this team, probably like physical presence, size, toughness. You still have like a little bit of swagger from the playoff run last year. I think this team is going to like rightfully believe going into pretty much every game that they should win.
Yeah. And I think what that question for me speaks more to is the idea of mentality and mindset of what this team is going to approach every game with and where that comes from. Because if you're talking about a team that's got dog in them, you're talking about a team that's tough, is physical, is going to want to compete on both ends of the floor. And that's exactly what Jason Kidd and this team wants night in and night out, from 1 to 15. And I think if you're asking a question like that, that gives you an idea that, hey, this is going to be a group that you can expect to play hard, if nothing else, every single night, which is speaking really well, I think, to how this team is coached and prepared based off of what they're asking them to do night in and night out.
Yeah, and like it's really important. Regular season's a grind.
Yes.
Physically, you're not always going to feel great, but you can't take a night off emotionally. That's whenever you get beat by teams that you should not beat or that you should not lose to. And it's going to be a pretty loaded Western Conference this year. So if you drop a couple games you shouldn't, then you're going to be feeling the sting of that come first week of April, whenever Luka's having to play 45 minutes just to avoid the plan.
Yeah.
Here's one more question I think we have time to get to.
Sure.
Also from a diehard named Mark in the Discord, he says, can PJ Washington become a true knockdown shooter with a full offseason with the Mavs? What would be so different about this offseason versus other ones that he's had in the past?
I think knowing where your shots are going to come from is key. He was 24% from the corners last season after joining the Mavs. That number went way up in the playoffs. Got a little more used to it, a little more minute continuity, role familiarity, all that stuff. So I think
you want another corner three stat? So when PJ Washington came into the NBA with Charlotte, 51% of his threes came in the corners. The following season, 42% the following season, 32% the following season, 35% the following season, still in Charlotte, 25%. So they dropped. That
needs to be like 80%.
Yeah. From his first season in the NBA to his last stint in Charlotte, he was taking half as many corner three-point shots. Even in Dallas, when he came to Dallas, he wasn't taking a lot of corner three-point shots. Obviously, we saw in the playoffs. If I toggle this to the playoffs, he went from 25% of his shots coming from the corners, or 25% of his three-pointers being corner three-pointers in the regular season for Dallas. And he had that weird thing where he wasn't making any of them. Mm-hmm. But in the playoffs, it jumped to 40%, and he made 53% of them. Yeah, just knowing that a lot more of those shots are going to come there. Yes, he's going to need to be able to step above the break and knock those shots down at times. But I think he's going to be a really, really, really good corner three-point shooter for this team. I think knowing he's going to be taking those shots is really important for him.
And they'll be wide open looks too.
Yeah.
Especially
exactly.
The floor with.
And we now have confidence Dallas has players who can knock down those above the break threes. So stationing PJ a lot of the times in the corner, I think, is going to be a good thing for him and for the Mavericks.
Quickly, though, I think the most important part of his game this season is not going to be the corner three. That is going to matter a bit, but I think a lot of it is going to be ball handling in the open floor and then putting it on the floor, making little floaters around
attacking
the rim.
Closeouts as well.
Basically, like he and Najee Marshall have very similar off-the-dribble games and strengths. They need those guys to do that over and over and over again.
Coming up, we'll have more of your questions here on Mavs Mailbag Thursday, but we got to tell you how you can become a diehard here at DLLS. Again, you go to alldlls.com/diehard to become a diehard today. You get your own physical diehard card. You can also get dope merch for all of our items as well. We've got incredible merch, post-game shows, podcasts, Discord-only member chat as well. There's a lot of fantastic benefits by becoming a diehard here at DLLS.
Can I say something about the merch?
Sure.
First off, that Skyline shirt is the one that I got.
Fire.
Whenever I got hired. That shirt is awesome. I cannot wait to wear it. But there's more than 35 shirt designs already in the store.
35?
Yeah, now some of them are
Wow,
going to
that's the
have
number of the
Chicago or Denver on them. Now, we don't want any of that crap. Well, obviously, we only want Dallas stuff. As the seasons go on, we're going to make more shirts, right? So, like, there's going to be more stuff in the store 2 months from now or 5 months from now or 12 months from now than there is today.
They've
Whenever
got
you
me
sign
in the
up to
shirt factory every night.
Yeah.
I'm just stitching.
Yeah,
I'm
he's
just
just-
stitching
he's
them.
just
When he's not
for
getting
you
your
guys.
questions, that's where he is.
But we're going to design more. We're going to make more. And so whenever you sign up, you get a promo code that you can use. So if there's a shirt in there that you want right now, you can go get your shirt right now. It'll ship in like whatever. We're going to get them in like a week or so. So it'll come to your doorstep pretty soon. But whenever you renew your membership next year, you're going to get another promo code. You can sit on that promo code, I think, for life. All right. You can use it whenever you want. So you can wait for a cooler shirt, whatever. So, yeah, there's always going to be some stuff to wear. The shirts are apparently very high quality. I'm looking forward to getting mine, and I'm going to wear it probably like 6 days in a row as soon as it comes in the mail.
Hopefully
so I'm going to put that quality to the test.
Please wash the
You
shirt.
think we're going to have Lana Del Rey shirts?
Game-used shirts.
We're going to have Lana shirts?
I hope so.
There you go.
Is that copyrighted? Written?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know.
Go to alldlls.com/diehard to become a diehard member today. A lot of cool stuff as you become a DLS diehard member. As we finish up our Mavs Mailbag Thursday today, we got plenty more questions to get to. We're going to try to get to as many as we can before we end our show.
Yeah,
today.
let's go a little quicker on these.
Yeah, let's go.
But I've got a fun one from another diehard member, Rontius. It's not
Ronetius.
Ronetius.
Yeah,
I'm
it's my
fine with
guy
that.
from Estonia, Ronetius, tuning in every day.
Oh, hell yeah.
Oh, wow. Shout
Absolutely.
out to Ronetius. Love that name.
Who could be the most fun regular season opponent for the Mavericks in the vein of Damian Lillard's Blazers? So what he's saying is not necessarily a contender, but just somebody who every time Dallas plays against them, it's a fun game. It's a fun stylistically it's fun. And it's just like, just some regular season matchup you're always looking forward to, not necessarily because it's, the Thunder up the street and has, huge implications on the standings. Very easily for me, the first one that came to mind was San Antonio. And San Antonio may actually be very, very
They'll
good
listen
here in
soon.
the very near future. But I do think San Antonio is just going to be a lot of fun. Like, they're going to be so much fun next year with CP3 and obviously just the continued rise of Wembanyama. I think that's a fun one. What other teams come to mind for you guys?
A few years ago, the easy answer would have been Zion and the Pelicans. But I don't know how much longer that thing is going to be happening, so I'll hold off on answering them. I think Mavs-Kings games are always really fun. They're always usually pretty high scoring, and that goes back 2 decades. So maybe the Kings.
Metu!
Maybe it's still too
It was
soon
a
to
fun
talk
game
about
of
that guy.
basketball.
Still too soon to talk about that guy.
I was at that game.
Another team that I think it's always going to be fun to watch. It's obviously always going to be fun to watch the Warriors. Always going to be fun to watch the Rockets. Some of those teams that are Warriors are getting a little younger. Rockets kind of have that whole thing in place. So I think those 3 teams, I always look forward to playing them. Well, I've never played against them, but I always look forward to watching them against them.
I'm excited to see the Magic this year.
I love the Magic.
They're good.
I think they're very well coached. Jamal Mosley, of course, former assistant coach here in Dallas. Very, very well
Unstoppable offense versus an unbreakable defense.
Yeah, defense is terrific. I'm going to go with the Memphis Grizzlies. I know they're an in-division opponent, but I'm just personally, outside of watching Luka Doncic every night, The Ja Morant experience for me is one that I look forward to every single time he steps on the floor. Those matchups for me, I love watching the Mavericks take on the Memphis Grizzlies. Now that Ja Morant is back, hopefully he can stay healthy for them. Maybe not play well against us, but at the same time, he's fun to watch every single night.
Now that Josh has kind of become Clay, do you think like the Desmond Bane thing is over, or do you think that's still going to be something we talk about, unfortunately, for the rest of our lives?
I think that's something we're going to continue to talk about because Desmond's a knockdown shooter, man.
The Mavs were actually the only team in the whole draft that didn't take him. So
good point. That's a great point, Bobby.
Little known fact.
Well, they were one of the few teams that did not scout him. I can say that. That's pretty sure it's been reported.
We're trying to keep it positive, Tim.
And it's not a long drive.
And he just played right down the road.
Yeah.
Right down the road.
Quick fire, going a little quicker. Will Maxi Kleba be a Mav after the trade deadline? Yes.
Yes.
I agree. I would say yes.
He just doesn't have a lot of value. He has more value to the Mavericks than he does as any sort of trade chip. The only way that he would be traded is Dallas really is trading for like a star that they think is going to like fill out their roster. And
I think like
if salary matching, that's the only way I envision him.
If he plays well enough to like have any sort of trade value, it means that he's healthy and producing. So why would you want to trade him?
Yeah.
Next season, his contract becomes expiring. So I guess hold that thought.
There may be some more value there at that point.
Do you think, this is from Outside Solid 3834 on Reddit, do you think Omax cracks the rotation this season? I think he'll get a I think there's going to be like a couple weeks at some point in the season where he's playing like 20 minutes. It's a reward for all the work he's putting in. Maybe comes from injuries and some absences. I don't think he's going to be a consistent rotation player at any point this season outside of like just a stretch to prove himself.
I'll go with no as well. This team is too deep right now, and where they are trying to win, I don't know how much more of an opportunity he's going to get to be able to show some of those skills that he has.
Yeah, I think this year the only way he gets in is probably injury to other players, maybe multiple. But I'm a huge Omax stan. I'm an Omax.
A lot of
guy.
Mavs fans are Omax stans.
Yeah,
out
so
there
like
for sure.
it would be really good if he did, but he's in a situation where he's going to have to earn it. It's not going to be given to him.
Agreed.
And so we'll see.
Let's see. If you could add one more player to this team, who would it be and whose roster spot would they take? That comes from Moonman.
Sorry.
Moonman.
What are the rules?
In the Discord, a diehard.
What are the rules?
There are no rules. They come from
Giannis.
Moonman.
Yeah, Giannis.
So,
I mean,
what kind of heaven and earth are you
spot would he
moving to
take?
get Giannis?
Whose spot would he
is
take?
this like
Lucas?
is it a
fantasy booking?
Is it like
here?
is it a realistic thing? Like, okay, so play like. Do we mean like within the realm of possibility?
Well, I can ask
here?
another version of the question, which just kind of advances this. Where are we? From FBC546 from Reddit, can Dallas win a championship, or are they still missing a piece?
Okay.
So that's a
so
more
then using that as like a
framing of
guidepost.
Yeah. I mean, to answer the Moon Man's question, if there's one player missing, like I think a stretch big, like a true stretch big, would have been fun for this team. A Kelly Olynyk type, something like that. I don't really think it's that feasible. Mo Wagner was somebody else I mentioned. He was never going to leave Orlando. I thought that would be useful. But in terms of, is Dallas truly missing somebody?
I do think they could use a little more front court help. What that looks like and the value that you could get for it, I'm interested in. But at the same time, I mean, this team is already 10. You can go 12 deep already. I think they're pretty well set given what they achieved last year and what they were able to fill in terms of some of the guys that they brought in this year.
Yeah, I don't think I'm happy with the starting lineup. I don't think that they need to add a starting caliber player at this point. Injuries could change that. But if I'm like waving a magic wand, give me like a 6'7", 6'8" guy off the bench with a little size that can shoot a little bit just to play backup 4, soak up some of those minutes.
Najee Marshall says hello.
Well, yeah, so like, okay, so you got Najee, you got PJ.
Yeah.
If Omax can also be, like, that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
Like, can Maxi rediscover the shot, or can Omax develop? Like, if one of those two guys hits, then you're pretty complete for the regular season.
Yeah.
But you need one of them to hit.
Agreed.
If you're realistically looking at the starting five, the only player that this is a luxury thing. PJ's awesome, but maybe if Dallas like loses in the second round, that would be the one conversation of like, do they just need a little bit more from that position from that player?
He does have the chance to prove it though. He's got the chance to
and
prove
he's
it.
awesome. He's awesome. This is not me. I'm just saying, like, again, we've got to think about. It's very hard to win a championship.
Yes.
And so if there's still something holding this team back, it's probably not going to be Klay Thompson. Ideally, it's not even like PJ's fault. It's like, could you get a PJ type that slides down and guards, ones and has a little bit more self-creation.
Who's guarding wings 4 at that point? So
yeah. I'm just speculating. I'm just speculating.
I saw it was like 2-1-4 sided.
Kessler Edwards. That's a hot take.
Woo. Okay. Right. Somebody put in Herb Jones. Herb Jones would be incredible, obviously.
Okay.
But if we're talking about fantasy booking
somebody
here.
in the comments said something about, I think the comment said, we have to beat Phoenix this year, referring to the Mavericks. I think it's a good time to mention that I went on the PHNX show.
That's right.
It's like DLLS. It's got a little more verve to it. But we love our friends.
Shots fired already.
We love our friends over in Phoenix. They don't love us. I just went on there. I wasn't expecting to be,
Yeah, they rated the Mavs as their number 1 most hated team.
So they want to make a bet with us 3. I think I told you guys this, but they want to bet based off the regular season series between Dallas and Phoenix. There's 4 games. Whoever wins the season series, the other hosts have to wear a T-shirt. And if it's tied, it goes to regular season tiebreaker, which I feel gives Dallas a pretty big advantage there.
I would agree with that.
And so the bet is that whoever loses, or whichever team wins, very paradoxical.
Yeah.
The
You guys
losing
know what I'm
hosts.
saying. Yes. The losing team hosts have to wear a shirt that says, I'm a hoe.
Hey,
In
Tanner.
reference to the infamous Lil Wayne tweet where he said, Luka a hoe.
Hey, Taryn, put that camera on me real quick. I only got the message for the. Let me tell you something. Ain't nobody's hoe. Okay? So that ain't happening on DLLS Mavs. You can take it back to the wide shot now. I just want to make sure I got that message to America and DLLS Mavs Nation. Ain't nobody's hoe.
Tim,
Okay?
I watched your guest spot. I watched your guest spot yesterday. Good job representing DLLS on there.
Yes,
but I
very
also
much so.
noticed like the PHNX crew is a very good looking crew, and I think that shirt is going to look awesome on them. So I'm really excited. I'm excited. To see
I mean, they
it.
don't look better than us. I mean, I'm just saying.
yeah,
But
of
the
course.
shirt will look good on them.
Also, what's wrong with being a hoe? Just saying.
Nothing.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Please,
I might
that,
get,
Tanner.
when they have to wear these shirts, I might request one, not to wear on the show, but just
to
around
have,
town.
in the cannon. Just in
I
case
mean,
you
to me,
wanna-
it's a Lil Wayne shirt, and I will absolutely, just like I'm wearing right now, I will wear a shirt.
That's a Lana Del Rey
dedicated-
shirt. It makes me very happy. I'm a
I
big
will wear
Lana
a shirt
fan.
dedicated
Oh, wow.
to any of
Wow, I'm
my
getting
musical
excited.
heroes. So absolutely.
We got time for one more before we get out of here?
Yeah, let me find a good one. Somebody asked about any rumblings of a rebrand now that Marc is more distant from the team. I have not heard anything. I don't know. I'm guessing y'all haven't either.
I need to consult with my legal team because I've heard all
Not
sorts of stuff
consult.
down to like contracts
Sworn
and
to
stuff.
secrecy.
So yeah, I'll get back to you on that one. But I've heard some fantastical songs from my little birds.
Oh, fantastical songs.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We'll take that.
30 seconds. You got one more?
I'm looking around. I'm trying to find some more.
How are
Dawg
you
and him,
doing
we asked
today?
that one.
I'm doing well, Bobby. Thank you.
I think that's it.
That's it?
Yeah. We just ready?
A couple more Keith Morris questions.
Oh, yeah. I'm not reporting anything. I don't know, but I think between him being, hanging out with the team out in LA, him saying he's going to be resigned, the writing is on the wall that unless AJ Lawson really proves his spot, he's on a non-guaranteed contract, unless he really proves his spot in training camp, in all likelihood, he's going to be waived and replaced by Markieff. AJ's an awesome guy, easy to root for. So it's a bummer to talk about stuff like this. I'm just saying, yes, that does, not even reporting wise, just based off all the info. If you just look at all the info, seems fairly likely that ends up happening. But yeah, we'll see.
Always a chance something else could happen too. You
Yeah.
have 2-for-1 trades late. I mean, not saying that would happen. I think it's very
Not
unlikely.
sure, yeah.
But
How would that happen?
spots could always open up.
Yeah, that's always true. Always true. That would give the Mavericks. Is there any concern that the Mavericks will now have 2 guys who are pretty much dedicated locker room guys, and Markieff and Dwight Powell?
They
I
had
think
them last
Dwight
year. They went to
Powell
the
is
finals.
still.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
they'd be just fine.
Yeah, and I
Markieff
think
is a great
Dwight
voice in there.
Powell. Y'all might hate me. I think Dwight Powell is still a really solid emergency backup big. If you ever need a true center, Lively's missing a little bit
Take
of time.
it from me. Be careful using his name on the internet. It makes people feel a very certain kind of way.
Very strong feelings
Yeah.
when it comes to Mr. Powell. That'll do it for this episode of DLLS Mavs. Thank you so much for submitting all of your questions in our Mavs Mailbag Thursday. You'll see more shows like this where you can throw them into our Discord chat. We'll be able to answer those as well. We appreciate all of your submissions, and we'll definitely answer more of those as the days and weeks go on. Coming up on tomorrow's show, Marc Stein will be back with us from London with more of his news and insights as the Mavericks offseason continues. And we've got a lot more that we'll have on DLLS Mavs. For Bobby Karalla, Tim Cato, that's your boy, Kevin Gray. Appreciate you joining us today on DLLS Mavs. We'll talk to you tomorrow. We're out.
Shout out, Dirk.
We all silly like the mayor.